Hey guys, I'm sorry for this awkward angle here, but I don't know how else to film eyeshadow palettes decluttering situation, but I have all of my eyeshadow palettes laid out here so that I can see exactly what I want to keep and what I want to discard. Yeah, so let's begin. This is fairly new in my makeup collection. This is the Camel palette by Natasha Denona. I just recently got it. I haven't even swatched it or used it yet. So this is definitely staying in my palette collection. The Marc Jacob eyeshadow palettes. So I have it in Glambition and Editorial. This two I am definitely keeping. So I have my two Tartelette palettes here. This is a Tartelette Original and this is a Tartelette Toasted palette. So I am getting rid of the Tartelette Original palette because I don't use a lot of purples in my makeup tutorials or makeup on daily wear. I gravitate towards a lot of the warm tone browns, so I am definitely going to be getting rid of this one. I am however going to be keeping the Tartelette Toasted palette because of these gorgeous neutral warm tone shades. I think this palette has a balance of nice shimmery and matte shades all in one, so I know that I'm gonna get a good use out of this one. So next I have the Stila eyeshadow palettes that I recently purchased. I think I'm going to be getting rid of these two. So I'm going to be getting rid of this one. This one is in Spirit. And this one is in Mind. I am going to be getting rid of both of one of my Kylie eyeshadow palettes. I'm definitely going to be keeping this because I think the colors are gorgeous and they're super pigmented, and I just like how travel friendly this packaging is. Going to be keeping this. The next palette, also by Kylie, that I'm keeping is this one. I think it's part of her summer launch or something, but I don't have any colors like this in my collection, so this is definitely a keep for me. Next up is the KKW with Mario collection palette. I'm definitely going to be keeping this one too because I really like how versatile these eyeshadows are, and it's just overall really easy eyeshadow palettes to use. I like the transition browns and that bright blue color, which is gorgeous. You have a deep brown, really warm tone brown color here with nice shimmery highlights, so I'm definitely going to be keeping this one. The Sonia Kashuk's eyeshadow palette in Ion Neutral 2. I've had this for some time, so I barely actually even use it. It's a really nice palette, but I think it's pretty old and expired, so I'm going to be throwing this one away. Next up I have are these Violet Voss's eyeshadow palettes, the Pro eyeshadow palettes. I have it in Holy Grail, and I think this one is Drenched Metal. I got these during these sales. I've sold two before, but I think I'm going to be keeping these two because I really like the eyeshadows that are within these palettes. They're just really unique, and I feel like they're very easy to just take it on the go, so they're very travel friendly too. So I'm definitely going to be keeping these two. So the Nude 2 palette I think I'm going to be getting rid of. I haven't reached for this palette in a while, so I am going to be getting rid of this one. So the next palette I'm getting rid of is the Urban Decay Ammo palette. I think I've had this with me since like 2010, and it's been 8 years later. The eyeshadows are still intact, but it's time to finally say goodbye to this palette. that I try to clean a million times is the Basics Naked Basics palette. I don't actually like the shade selections here. I don't know why I got it, because it was so hyped up probably, but I'm getting rid of this one. The Urban Decay Naked Basics palette is going to be staying because it has nice neutral matte shade colors, so I'm going to be keeping this one. So the next palette that I'm getting rid of is the Smoked Urban Decay eyeshadow palette. I am not impressed by this eyeshadow palette in general, so I don't know why I kept it. I guess I was like, I spent money on this, I need to keep it, but I am going to be getting rid of this one. So my Naked palettes, Naked 1, 2, and 3, I am going to be keeping. These are just classic iconic palettes that I need to have in my collection. I've made memories with these palettes, so I'm going to be keeping all 3, even though they are pretty old. But yeah, I am going to be keeping all of these palettes. So this is my very first Sigma palette, and the only one that I have in my collection is the Volume 2 eyeshadows palette. It's absolutely gorgeous, so of course I'm keeping this. So L'Oreal's LA palette 2, I am going to be getting rid of. It's a gorgeous purpley tone eyeshadow palette, but I don't think I'm going to be using it quite often, so I don't need to keep this in my makeup collection. So this is fairly new in my collection. It's a tiny little eyeshadow palette by Smashbox. I think the graphics is really cool, but I do really like the eyeshadows that are in this one. It looks pretty boring, but I know I'll get a good use out of like highlighting shades within this palette, so it's going to be keep. This is called the Smashbox Cover Shot Metallic Eye Palette. So this is also new in my collection. This is Smashbox Full Exposure Palette. I got it on sale, but the colors within this palette looks really gorgeous. I still have the brush here, brand new, haven't touched, haven't used, haven't swatched. So of course I'm definitely going to be keeping this one. My one Lorac Pro eyeshadow palette is like my holy grail zero eyeshadow palette in my collection, so I am definitely going to be keeping this one. Such a unique, beautiful eyeshadow palette. This is one that I really like. So Kat Von D's eyeshadow palette. This is the, I believe, the matte eyeshadow palette. I was contemplating about this, but I think that I'm going to be keeping this one because I do really like all of her matte eyeshadows. It's really smooth. It's not patchy at all, so that's pretty hard to find in matte eyeshadow, so I really appreciate that. She's a weird lady, but whatever. I don't want to take it too personally. I want to focus on the makeup side of the world, so I am going to be keeping this palette. It's my gorgeous Huda Beauty palette, the Desert Dusk palette. I am definitely going to be keeping this one because look at it, it's just so gorgeous. I don't have anything like this in my collection, so of course I'm going to be keeping this one. So I have some of my Anastasia eyeshadow palettes here. I have a total of 5 of them. So 5 eyeshadows palettes by Anastasia. I think I might be keeping all of them. This is the latest addition to my collection, Soft Glam. It's just a gorgeous palette. I can't say no to not keeping this palette. So Renaissance, I've used this quite sometimes, quite a bit. This is definitely a staple in my makeup collection. Quite unique, the Prism palette. I just like the color range, so I'm definitely going to be keeping this one as well. These palettes, I will have these up on for you guys for sale if you guys are interested. So I have my one Sam Marcel palette here. Definitely going to be keeping this one because the colors are unique and I think it's a gorgeous palette. Dose of Colors palette, I'm going to be keeping the baked brown ones and getting rid of the Marvelous Mauves. Those gorgeous. I think somebody can rock these eyeshadows better than I do. I'm going to be keeping this one because I wear neutral colors on day-to-day basis. It's just a gorgeous palette. Definitely going to be keeping this one. I'm also going to be keeping one of my only Becca eyeshadow palette. Looks like this. This is a nice, like, everyday kind of eyeshadow palette. 3 Too Faced eyeshadow palettes: Peach, Original Chocolate, and I have the Gold Edition one too. So I'm definitely going to be keeping the gold one. Such a gorgeous palette. I'm going to be keeping the Peach palette because it just smells so good and I like the shade selection within this one. I'm going to be getting rid of the Original Too Faced chocolate palette. I do really like all of these shades, but I don't reach for it often, so I'm going to be getting rid of it finally. And it's like the original bulky packaging that I don't care for, so it's easy to let this one go. I am going to be keeping my MAC 15 eyeshadow pen palettes. I have one, it's called the Warm Neutral palette. Gorgeous eyeshadow colors, you can't really go wrong with this palette. I think this is the exclusive, like the most popular MAC eyeshadows all-in-one palette. This one was a limited edition one, so yeah, I'm going to be keeping these two. So I'm also going to be keeping the Z palette that I have created, my personal palette. These are all MUG eyeshadows within this palette. Some of the popular shades by Makeup Geek, and I absolutely love this palette. Sometimes I reach for this, but I'm just overwhelmed by all of the eyeshadow palettes that I have, so I usually don't reach for this, but I am going to be putting this in my everyday kind of drawer. But love this palette. Getting rid of my Morphe eyeshadow palettes because I'm planning to only keep one, so I'm getting rid of the 35O. Yeah, this is a gorgeous eyeshadow palette. Everyone was crazy about this palette during that time, including me, of course, but I'm finally going to be getting rid of this one because I feel like it's really big and bulky and I don't reach for it, and I feel like some of these shades are really similar to one another, so I just don't need it. I will be selling this palette at a really low price on my Poshmark. And then I'm also going to be getting rid of the 35F palette, and this is the fall edition. So this is going to be a great fall neutral eyeshadow palette. You have quite unique shades in here, a little bit more unique than the 35O palette, but I think this has a lot of warm tones as well. So if you guys are like really into warm browns and purples, I think you will really like this one. I'm also getting rid of the 12C. This is a nice cool tone palette. I actually used this in one of my tutorials, and I really like the eyeshadow colors, but I don't think I will be reaching for this palette in my like daily kind of look, so I'm going to be finally getting rid of this one. So this is new to my makeup palettes collection, the Vote by Morphe Jaclyn Hill collaboration. It comes with 4 gorgeous palettes. I know that I'm going to be keeping all of these palettes. Palette. It has a lot more warm tones that I like. This huge one, the Nubian 2 palette. I have one, so why not keep the second one as well. Magic palette. The Masquerade palette. I like how this have a nice neutral selection at the bottom and all of the brighter colors at the top. And here's all the ones that I am getting rid of. I know this is a lot, but a girl needs to have options. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you guys in my next video.